Explain like I'm 5. Why does US schools start the year in September, not just January or February? In Australia, our school year starts in January or February depending how long the holidays are. The holidays start around the 20th of December and go as far as the 1st of February depending on state and private school. Is it just easier for the year to start like this instead of September? Edit. Thanks for all the replies. Yes, now IK, how stupid of a question it is. Different hemispheres. My dude. The longest school holiday in any country tends to happen when it's summer. The fact that that happens to make your school years coincide with the calendar year is a coincidence. The summer break in North America may be Europe too? Is WAY longer than the summer break in Australia too? It makes sense to make the break during this long period and start a fresh year after it. Because Australia is in the southern hemisphere, your summer is in December. Ours is in July. That's why most school years start after said break. January-February is vaguely around the end of summer in Australia. August-September is vaguely around the end of summer in the US. Also want to point out not all schools go back in September. I'm standing at the bus stop with my first grader right now. This is her second week of school and it is in fact not September yet. As someone who's spent half his life in Europe and the other half in NZ and Australia, school years line up post-summer holidays. Which makes sense. What's more weird to me is that the end of financial years is also flipped. In the Northern Hemisphere, it aligns with the calendar year. But in the Southern Hemisphere, it's around the mid-year. What's even stranger is that NZ and Australia aren't even aligned in this regard. What's interesting is most schools in the South start school in early August. Where do these September or post-Labor Day schools exist? Agriculture. Summer harvest ended for most part. Kids could go to school during day and do chores before and after. I may bring a partial reason at least for Europe. In the past, rural population were counting on farmers' children to help at the crops. As school was made mandatory, they had to cope with this issue and put the school year beginning at the end of the crops season. Sorry, should my English not be perfect? Your school year starts after the end of your summer. And so does ours. The school schedule historically aligned with farming season, allowing kids to be available to help on the farm in the garden during the summer. Now, summer is as time for kids to go to summer camp or hobby-related camp, basketball camp, drama camp, etc. For families to take vacations. Generally enjoy the outdoors when the weather is nice. India starts in June. Take that. Not September probably because it is just before the big holidays Diwali, Dussehra, etc. in October. Not January probably being the coldest month. June is just after scorching summers of April-May. So makes for a nice time to start. Someone among the 1.4 BN would surely disagree. Kids used to be working the fields in summer with their family and couldn't go to school. When summer started to end, kids were sent to school, and in winter school took a short break for the holidays and then resumed after. Then another stretch of school until summer again. It's traditional and it has to do with farming. School started when kids could get a break from farm work. I never had a fall break, but my father said he did, and that was during harvest time. We did have spring break, and that was during planting time. My father said that fall break and spring break might not occur at the same time every year, depending on weather and crops. Summer ends in September. School is out during summer because nobody wants to sit in a classroom in a 30 degrees heat. Australia is in the southern hemisphere. Your warm weather months are coming up as you are currently ending your school year. In the US and Europe, Our warm weather months are starting to end and our school year is beginning. The seasonal changes impacting school start and stop dates is driven by the times when children helped on the family farm to tend to crops that help the family survive the cold winter months. Summer is hot and air conditioning didn't exist when the public school system was established. Kids get summers off. Summers are just in different times of year in the North versus South Hemisphere. Also in the past and maybe even currently in some places, many schools in the U.S. didn't have air conditioning. My elementary school in the 90s didn't have it. I grew up in the Midwest and September was usually comfortable. But being in a non-air conditioned building in June, July, or August would have been brutal. Our school system was built around farming. You'd go to school after you did your morning work and be home in time for dinner and a little chore work. There have been modifications to them, hopeful to improve students' moods, such as separating the school system into 3 school tiers and addressing an issue with students in the midst of puberty with sleeping. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. But more on topic. Summer is our growth season. Farming. Australia is in the southern hemisphere, so the weather cycle is out of its phase by about 6 months. Therefore your January is like the US and Europe's July. You get a summer Christmas. Europeans get a winter Christmas. People telling you some historic reasons when the simple fact is, at least in Europe, the warmest and longest days are in June, July and August, when kids can spend their times outside and go to vacation with their parents. Wouldn't make sense to keep them 3 months in-house in cold and rainy weather when there's nothing to do. Pre-industrial revolution, the children had to help out on the farms during the busy summer though. Harvest time. So school would start after the harvests. Winters are cold in the northern hemisphere. Summers are not. Kids and parents rather enjoy being off when it is warm and snow-free. Alright, let's think about this step by step. 1. Long ago, many people in the US were farmers. 2. Farmers needed their kids to help during summer when crops grow the most. 3. So, summer became a break from school. 4. By the time all the farming work was done, it was September. 5. School started the new year in September after the farming break. 6. This became a tradition. And even though not many are farmers now, schools still start in September. A lot of school buildings back in the day did not have air conditioning and could not hold kids in the building 100-degree heat. And so kids could help with summer farm work. Agriculture is the historical reason for sure. I'll add that the summer months can be the most expensive months for schools to operate. AC is way more expensive than heat, depending on latitude. And many schools don't even have it. Much easier to just send the kids home during the hottest part of the year. I heard that it has to do with climate control and energy costs. A bunch of bodies crammed into a small classroom generate heat. So, while heating a school in the winter does cost money, cooling the same school during the unbearable USA summers costs substantially more. Phoenix has had 10 consecutive days of heat higher than 115 F this year. Imagine trying to cool that room down to a temperature conducive to learning. It seems to always come down to money. AC cost a lot. Sept is nearing the end of summer. Literally the same for you, you just live in the southern hemisphere.